The new governor of Kentucky has stripped 140,000 people of their voting rights and has also lowered the minimum wage for many Kentuckians. This story is not getting the attention that it deserves. Think Progress is reporting that the newly elected Kentucky Republican governor, Matt Bevin, has already reversed a move by his Democratic predecessor, which restored voting rights to about 140,000 former felons, nonviolent former felons, and reversed the minimum wage increase all within his first month of office. Now, what's amazing here is that during the campaign, Bevin said he would not undo the restoration of voting rights to these 140,000 former felons. And then during his first month of office, he has done exactly that. He was asked, well, you said A during the campaign and you did the opposite of A now during your first month of office. He said, well, this is an issue that must be addressed through the legislature and by the will of the people. Doesn't he, by undoing this, I guess he's saying, oh, the former governor did this without the will of the people, so now I'm undoing it also without the will of the people. Isn't it sort of just arbitrarily picking which position that wasn't voted on by the people will be the one of the state?
Yeah, I mean, do any of these people actually represent their constituents as a whole? I mean, look at Massachusetts. You have a long history of Republican governors, based mostly, I think, on voter turnout issues in midterms, right?
Yeah.
And have those Republican governors actually represented the state as a whole?
No, they've represented the disproportionately conservative electorate of these midterm and gubernatorial elections, but that's also, you got to blame the people who didn't vote, right? I mean, that I understand to a certain degree.
To a point.
Yeah. In another executive order this week, Bevin also reversed former Governor Beshear's move to raise the state's minimum wage for government workers and contractors to $10.10 an hour, bringing it back down to $7.25 an hour. Bevin said previously, just for context, that he believes legalizing same-sex marriage could lead to parents marrying their children. He won, as Lewis mentioned, in November on the backs of a very low voter turnout. And as we know, when voter turnout is lower, the more conservative, the more extremist candidate tends to win. I would love to talk to Governor Bevin and figure out how legal same-sex marriage would lead to parents marrying their children. I hate to break it to you, Governor. If you need a law from stopping you from proposing to your daughter, you've got bigger problems than two dudes getting married, right? I mean, that we have to understand that reality. If it weren't for the law, you would want to marry your daughter. That's a bigger problem. It has nothing to do with same-sex marriage.
I think the vast majority of our audience would be in agreement on that. I also would ask him how paying people $7 and X amount of cents an hour helps his state. I would like to know that.
Yeah, no question about it. And the saddest part of all of this, if anything goes wrong now, at least until President Obama is out of office, and certainly if a Democratic candidate is the next president, anything that goes wrong in Kentucky, many low-information Kentuckians are going to blame it on the Democratic president rather than their extremist, retrograde, backwards governor. And that's the saddest thing of all, because that is how President Obama gets blamed when Republican governors don't do the Medicaid expansion, for example. It's a Republican decision at the state level. Obama gets blamed, and that's going to continue happening. This is why we need higher voter turnout.
Yes, and we need more educated voters. Dave, this guy could probably tomorrow say, do you know why we went back to $7 an hour? Because Obamacare.
Of course.
People would buy it.
We had no choice. Obamacare forced us to pay government workers less than we were paying them previously. It just makes absolutely no sense. Red alert should be going off in Kentucky, no question about it.